I brought it up just as I was ready to turn on my microphone to start this show. Walked to the other side, and I said, when are we diving into the Calvin Johnson Hall of Fame question? And McLovin goes, once we do. And I said, well, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. McLovin goes, I think he is. And then I closed the door, turned on the microphone, and said, we'll dive into it. McLovin, is this a poll question?
Sure, we could have that as a poll question. That'd be great.
All right. How about this? If I said you could have Terrell Davis or Calvin Johnson as a Hall of Famer, you had to pick one or the other. But you can only pick one.
Similar, like brief runs of real excellence.
Yes. Because Calvin Johnson, we're looking at 9 years, and we're looking at the numbers. The numbers don't match up because it's only 9 years. Now, he had 4 great years, monster years. But is that enough at that position in a pass-happy NFL? That's my concern here. I think Calvin Johnson's a great player, was a great player. But not everybody gets into the Hall of Fame. He feels like a Hall of Fame player. He had a Hall of Fame arc. You got to have 3 more years in there, I think. Just do. At that position where you can put up big numbers. And I don't know what's going to be tougher to assess. As we move down the road here with the NFL, assessing if a quarterback is a Hall of Famer, if a running back is a Hall of Famer, or a wide receiver is a Hall of Famer. What's going to be tougher to differentiate there? Because it used to be you got to 10,000 yards as a running back, and you were a Hall of Famer. That's not the case now, is it? Or is it getting to 10,000 yards? With a wide receiver, if you're not getting 80 catches, how good are you? In today's league where they can't put their hands on you, every rule favors you. And what about a quarterback? Every rule favors you as well. If you're not throwing for 4,000 yards, you had a bad year. If you don't throw for 25 touchdowns, you had a bad year. So how do you assess who's a Hall of Famer? It's really difficult now. Calvin Johnson, 9 seasons. And he's at that position, he was the anomaly. It was not a me attitude with Calvin Johnson. We sort of noticed him because, when you're watching Detroit, you got to notice something. And Megatron would be triple teamed and put up great numbers. But I just don't think he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, Paul.
Before we get into the Calvin Johnson numbers, does his professionalism and demeanor help him for the Hall of Fame?
I think it helps, but I don't think it puts him over the top. You might say T.O. that detracted from him getting in first go-round, or Michael Irvin first go-round. I think it, but I don't know if he was a good interview. I think he was a professional. I don't think he was charismatic. I think he had humility and professionalism at a position we're not used to seeing. Yes, McLovin.
For me, it's just he's a better receiver than almost all the guys who are in the Hall of Fame. I'm looking down the list. Like, you can't tell me some of these names are better receivers than Calvin Johnson. It just doesn't make sense.
But receivers now.
Yeah, I'm looking like the guys that come.
Is he better than Marvin Harrison?
Yes. He's a better player than Marvin Harrison.
Okay, better player. But did he have a better career?
Maybe not, but doesn't that count for something? Like, look at the list of guys who've gotten him: Tim Brown, Chris Carter, Andre Reed, Marvin Harrison, Charlie. I'm looking down the list: Michael Irvin, Charlie Joyner, Steve Largent, James Lofton, Tommy McDonald.
Yeah,
Bobby.
But no. You got different era there. You can't do that.
Oh, okay, but like Art Monk.
It's different era. You got to stay right now.
Well, okay, Tim Brown, Chris Carter, Marvin Harrison.
Well, but they got in at the right time. Brown and Carter got in, and if they weren't getting in, like Andre Reed, they got in at the tail end, and that's really before the NFL was too pass happy that they put up their numbers.
If you're having an open draft of all these receivers, I think Jerry Rice is 1 and Calvin Johnson's 2. So to me, and I understand better career, but he's a better player. To me, that's why I give him the benefit of the doubt.
But he didn't have he had 4 great years. He played 9 seasons. He's hurt by not being in the postseason. He had 1 appearance there.
Is Gale Sayers an analogy?
No, he got hurt.
Right, the reason Calvin's retiring is he had a bunch of knee surgeries, finger surgeries. So he hasn't practiced in steadily for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think he's a great player. I just don't think he's a Hall of Famer. But you're right about, this was a guy who could be a possession receiver and then beat you deep. Like he had that combo that, we saw with Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, that ability to be, I'll catch something over the middle, make a tough catch, but I can also beat you deep. That hybrid. Yeah, Paul.
Over 9 seasons, this was the average year for Calvin Johnson. If you put all his numbers together, he averaged 81 catches a season, 1,291 yards, and 9 touchdowns.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he's a great player.
One other stat, Calvin Johnson, 731 catches, 11,619 yards. If you doubled all his stats, you'd be short of Jerry Rice in catches and touchdowns. If you doubled his entire career, you'd be short of Jerry Rice.